Hello everyone and welcome to the next part of social media clone. Now we are going to jump over to the post application and set up our views.py file. A lot of the views will require extra methods to ensure that certain privileges are connected correctly to the logged in user and selected group. Well, we are also going to need to do is install a library called Django braces, and you can do that at your command line with this command pip install Django braces. And this allows us to access some convenient mixins to use with class-based views. Let's go to the editor and post file and get started. All right. So here I am at my post views.py file. I'm going to collapse the directory tree to give us a little more room. And here I am going to start off by doing a couple of imports. We are first going to say from Django.contrib .auth.mixins import login required mixin. Okay. So and do a lot of these post actions such as creating a new post. Then we are also going to say from Django score.url results import versus lazy this reverse lazy so that in case someone wants to delete a post, we have that reverse lazy call which you can use later. Then we also are going to be using some generic class-based views. I will say from Django.views import generic, and then we are also going to using HTTP 404 also. That way we can return a 404 type of page later on. So we'll say from Django.http import HTTP 404 and save that. Then finally we'll save this form. Okay. And the views import select related mixins. Now remember that you have to install braces as we just discussed in the slides, and you can do that just by going to your command line and not your command line inside of your virtual environment. Just say pip install Django dash braces, hit enter and then let that install. Now my requirements are already satisfied because I have already installed it before this lecture. So now we have braces library ready in our project, and then I am also going to say from dot import models, so that's my actual models for the post should be imported. And then later on we are actually going to create a form for the post. So we'll say from the import forms, although we have not actually created the forms.py file yet, although we'll do that later on. And then I will say from django.contrib.import get user model, and that's going to be a function that allows me to get a set sorry that allows me to set a user object equal to get user model, and then I call get user model. And basically what that means is when someone is logged in into a session, I'm going to be able to use this user object as the current user and then call things off from that. So let's start off with probably the simplest view here, and that's going to be the post list view. So once you select a person, you can see a list of all their posts, or once you select a group, you can see a list of all the posts for that group. So we'll start off with the post list class, and that's going to be list of posts belongs to a group. So we are going to say pass in the selected related mix in, as well as call this a generic list view. And then let's give a couple more lines here. Go all the way back up, and inside of the this post list, all we are going to do is connect it to a model. So that will be models.post. So our post model that we created earlier, and then I'm also going to have this method or attribute selected underscore related, which is just the mixin that allows us to provide a tuple of related models. So basically the foreign keys for this post, and that's going to be the user that the post belongs to and the group that the post belongs to. Then I am saving that, and next we are going to create another class for user post, and that's just going to be a generic list view, and Let's give ourselves some more room here. Don't want to forget that colon, and then this is going to be the generic view for the user post. So we'll connect this with models post, and then we'll give it the template name. So our template name is going to be equal to post slash user underscore post underscore list dot html. Okay, so now we are going to have to add a few more methods in here to make sure this all works correctly when a user is logged in. So we are basically going to have a method called get underscore query set and pass in, and this is what we are going to do inside this method. We are going to first try to say self post user. So check if self uh, post dot user equal to user, so dot object. So assign user to object, and then we are going to call prefetch underscore related posts. And remember, we can say these different methods or attribute you can call of object. So this is another one. There is a giant list of them in the documentation, and then of this we are going to say get, and when we will say get the username underscore uh, ie exact underscore sorry ie exact equal to self dot keywords arguments, and inside that we have inside parentheses we have username, and that's it. So we are going to first try to do this whole giant line. So let's explain what's going on here. We are going to try to get the query set. So basically, when you call a user post that list view post dot list view, what is it actually going to attempt to do here? It's going to try to set post user that is in the user dot that belongs to this particular post equal to user uh, dot users objects. We are going to prefetch related post, and then this username, this should be a double underscore. As I described before in previous lectures, we can call these double underscores, and you can see how the syntax highlighting changes, and then we are going to get where the username is exactly equal to the username of whatever user is logged in or whatever user you happen to click on. So we are going to try to do that, and then we are going to match this try call with an accept call. So we'll say accept, and we'll say accept if the user does not exist. So for some reason the user got deleted. So we'll say user does not exist, and this is just an attribute. So I will raise HTTP 404, and we don't have to actually call that. You just raise it, and then I'm going to return self dot post underscore user posts all. Okay, and we'll save that. Now this is basically just to make sure that when you call the query set for the user post dot the user actually exists, and then you are able to fetch the posts that are related to that user using this check right here. Okay. Okay, so by continuing on, we are going to do one more method here. uh, Diff, I will say get underscore context data, and that's going to be self and then some keyword arguments, and then we will say context is equal to super uh, get underscore context data, and then pass in keyword arguments, and then we will say context equal to super dot this get context data. So this is what we want to do. So post underscore user is equal to self post underscore user. Okay, that's the way. And then I am finally going to return that context. Okay, so that way I'm just returning the context data object. essentially connected to whoever actually posted uh, that specific user. Okay, so moving along, we have a couple of more classes. These are much simpler than this one, and this is probably the most complicated class that we had to deal with, just connecting those posts to those users. Next we want to do is just to post detail. So we will say post detail, and that's going to take in that select related mixin as well as a generic detail view. So essentially this is the detail view when you click on a singular post, and what happens is we just connect this module models dot post, and then we will say select related, and we are going to connect it with some foreign keys, and this is just going to be the user and the group that this post belongs to. And then after this we are going to say diff get the query set. Okay, and then we'll say query set is equal to super get super thoughts get query set, and we'll explain all this in just a second. And then we'll say return the query set, and we are going to filter it. So what are we going to filter this? This is that. So we want to check that the user's username is exactly equal to where self keywords arguments is. So get dot that username kind of similar to what we were doing before with this get query set. So again what we are doing here is we are saying okay, get the query set for that actual post, and then I want you to filter where the username that we are going to pass in is equal to the username, and it's going to be exactly the user's username, essentially just that username of that models object. And I know this sort of syntax can be really strange at first, those double underscores and the sort of object model, that object relation model dot Django. So that Django has, but definitely check out the documentation. This can help a lot. Essentially, just go through those examples. They have really well written documentation there. So go through it, and this will become clear and clear as you see more and more examples of this. So it's definitely really weird at this the sort of customized Git query calls. So moving on, we have to more classes we want to create for those views, and that is create post and the delete post. So for the create class or create post, we are going to say create post, and this will have a login required mixin and a selected required mix on or selected related mix, I should say, and then generic create view. Then let's give some extra lines here. And inside of this, we'll start off by saying fields. So the fields I want someone to be able to edit is just the message of the actual post, and then the group that the post belongs to. And then the model can be models dot post, and we just want to check if the form is valid here. So we'll say def form underscore valid as a method, and we'll take in self and the form, and then this will be self object which is equal to form dot save, and we are going to set commit equal to false, and then say self object user and set that equal to the request user. So the actual user that at the request, and then we will say self object self dot request user and save that. So essentially what this is just to connect the actual post to the user itself. And then once we are done with that, we'll say return super form form underscore valid and save that. And then finally we have the delete post, which will be another class called delete post, and that's going to be a longer required mix in a select related mixin, and another generic view in this case the delete view. So get some more lines in here. uh, so come back up, and so we'll connect this to a model, so there will be models post. Then we'll also say select related and set that equal to the user and group, as we just been doing before. That needs to be in a string, and then we are going to say success URL, and that's just going to be reverse lazy, and that's going to go to post also. You can use that URL templates tagging. So basically what that means is once you delete a post, well, what's the success URL? So if you hit yes, I confirm the delete, it should take you back somewhere reverse lazy, and we will just go back to all the post. Then we are going to say diff get query set, okay, in that self. Then we'll say the query set of this is equal to super get query set, and then I'm going to return query set that I just made that variable, and I'm going to filter out where the user ID is equal to self dot request. So user ID, so that's the parameter in for the filter, and then finally I'm going to have a delete method on this self arguments, keyword arguments inside that delete, and that's going to be the message success, and we'll say self dot request, and we'll send in post deleted. Then we are going to return super delete, okay. And you can look up a lot of these kind of convention calls in the documentation for a delete view. A lot of these things, they are really just chosen by the convention, that delete view. So delete view kind of expects if you want to mess around with what happens after you click delete. It has a delete method for it, or a get query set. So a lot of these things we are not actually making up the terms or methods or variables to use. A lot of them just come with the class based views. So we are already seen a couple of them. Things like model or success URL methods like delete or just on top of that kind of things. Okay. So that should be everything we need for our actual views.py, and what we need to do next is link them up to our URLs in our post.py. So let's come over to the post folder, open up urls.py here, and then fill out the URLs we need. So we'll say from django.conf dot urls, conf means configuration, import URL, and then I'm also going to say from import views, and let's give this app a name of post that we can use that in our template text. Then we'll say URL patterns is equal to, and essentially now it's just my time to make all the list of URL patterns, and I'm going to collapse the directory tree to get a little more room here. Now we'll start off referring to the expression, regular expression here, but for that correct URL pattern you have to do chat GPT, or you can search on Google so that you can find. So for the actual, if you just go to your domain name, that slash, we'll say dollar sign, and this will just give you dot post list as underscore view, and we'll just give this the name all. So simple views there. Then the next URL we can do for a new post. So if someone wants to make a new post, that will just go to post slash new dollar sign, and then this will be the create post. So views dot create post as a view, and the name is equal to create. Then after that we are going to do is for the user post. So when you click on a user, you can see a list of all their posts, and then we also need to do the post detail and deletes post. So let's start with that user post. So we'll say URL, and in here again regular expression, and this will be by honestly whatever you want to call that. And then we'll use some regular expressions here, this which is just going to look similar to what we just used in the past. Okay, question mark p less than open tag username inside the open tag, and that close tag. Then we'll use another regular expression minus backslash w, and for correct regular expression thing you can search on internet, or you can do chat gpt kind of thing, and you can find correct. So when you go to your domain name post slash by slash with our username, then we can actually have views dot user post as you, and we'll give this the name for user, since I believe that that's what we have been using in the templates. So we'll say for underscore user, and then we want just one more or two more actually the post detail. So it's actually going to look really similar to this as far as the regular expression. So I'm going to copy this entire string, and this shows all the user post. So then we are going to do one more slash, and we are going to copy and paste this. So actually let's just write it out so we can see more detail here. So we'll see parenthesis, question mark p, open tag, open mark, so pk, and close tag, and then backslash, then d plus forward slash dollar sign, and then that's views dot post detail as of view, and we'll give this the name singles. Then last one is just if you want to delete something, it will be delete, and then we want to connect to the actual primary key here, because we already know it's going to be the user itself that is going to be able to delete them. So we'll say delete the primary key, and then dollar sign, and then views delete post as a view with the name is equal to delete. Perfect. So those are the URLs we need. So we definitely did a lot here, and there is a lot of new stuff that we have not really seen yet. And yes, let me make sure that says from there we go. So let's quickly review everything we just did. We'll start off with the views. So in post views.py, what we ended up doing is essentially a bunch of imports that we are going to use later. And we start off a very simple one, just the post list. But remember, before that, we wanted user equal to get user model, so we could play around and pass that in if needed. So last post list. So this shows a list of all the posts related to either the user or the group or both of them. So really, since the post model has that, and then we have the user post. So that's the list view for a specific user's post. And then we have this get query set method, which essentially just checks where the username is exactly equal to the get username of whoever logged in right now. So you can see here that user object that we set up and get user model, this is where we could use it. So that's the orm.django provides that object relational model or mapper. Then we have the get context data, which allows us to grab that post user and then return the context dictionary of that. And then we have the post details. So when you select a particular post, there is a detailed view on it. Again, just connecting to the post model and select related. This would be in a string, so it could catch there, save that. And since we have the create post, and again, that just when you want to create a post, the message in the group, and then you check out the form is valid, and then we have delete post. Very simple thing, except we added a little more on this delete method to actually return something saying the post was deleted. So finally, after that, we set URLs up here and just matched up all the URL patterns that we just created. So definitely check out the documentation for a lot of these class-based views. If you were having trouble with some of these methods, such as get context data or get query set, the documentation really explains those thoroughly. Those are methods that you are going to use as you get more advanced in Django. A lot of the class-based views, you can use them without these additional methods. In fact, we have seen that already in the past, especially with that group application. It's only when you start getting more advanced or want certain functionality that you will end up adding on with extra methods. A lot of the functionality you will be using for a lot of your own project probably at the start are going to work just fine with class-based views. Okay, so thanks.